Hi, welcome to our 7th and last series of the Step Up Your Practice video series. In this series, we're really just talking about how to take all the great files you've created through your home practice and save them and share them and what those different file types are. So the first file type we'll talk about is the WAV file, .wav. That's your standard uncompressed raw audio file, and that file is good for any audio player. It'll work in any program, but it's also the largest size audio file. A lot of you are familiar with MP3s, which is another good way to save your music. It does compress the audio a little bit, but it makes a smaller file size, so you can actually email it and share it. StudioOne Artist does not allow for MP3s, but there's an upgrade you can get, or if you use the offer and get the Music Creation Suite or the AudioBox Studio with a pair of Eris, you get a free upgrade to StudioOne Producer, which does give you MP3 access. Now, the other type of file I'd like to talk to you about is the MIDI file. And we'll show you all these in a second. But what MIDI stands for is Musical Instrument Digital Interface. And essentially, it's like computer language. It's data that tells the computer to start a note and stop a note at a certain point and which sounds to trigger. So you have different file types that we'll work at, and I'll show you how to export and save them so you can transfer them with friends. Let's check out StudioOne. Here, I have an example from what I recorded previously with the backing track using play-alongs. I'm just going to export this as audio, which what I need to do is combine these tracks together. So once I have it mixed the way I want it mixed, equal volumes of everything that I want to hear, all I do is I just create a loop. So in this little top gray area, you can drag with your mouse and loop a section of audio. Now notice that the track here is going to have a count off. So we want to start this right after the count off, which is here. Now that I have my loop made, I go to Song, Export Mixdown. In this window, I can change my file name. I can select anywhere on my computer to save my file, and then I can select formats. Now I told you about WAV. That's a great format. That's full size, but you can also save to MP3 if you have the StudioOne Producer or the upgrade. This is a smaller file size, and this is something to be really good to email to your friends or share. Now, if you have a SoundCloud account or a Nimbit account, you can actually upload your song directly to SoundCloud or Nimbit, so you can just go ahead and publish it so all your friends can hear that as well. Now, going to Notion, you'll notice that I have a Notion score up. I can also save my Notion score as audio or MIDI. Now to do this, I simply go to File, Export Audio, and it exports it as a WAV file, or in Notion I can upload directly to SoundCloud. The other thing I can do is export as MIDI. Now what this does is we'll save it, and I'll actually go ahead and save it right in the desktop and show you what that looks like. It saves all the MIDI data as individual tracks. So now I've saved this entire score, but I can bring this into StudioOne as MIDI data, and I can work with the instruments, or I can actually use it to rearrange and recompose it. So now in StudioOne, I have my blank song. Over on my desktop, notice that I can see my MIDI right here. So I can actually drag this on. Notice it drags in as all the tracks we exported. Pretty cool. So now we can actually add sounds and play this right back. Also, using StudioOne, if I have MIDI data in here, I can save individual or all the tracks by simply right-clicking and exporting parts to a MIDI file. So now we've talked about the different file types you can save and transfer from StudioOne to Notion and Notion to StudioOne, both MIDI, audio, as WAV or MP3, and you can also take those files and share them with your friends. So now you've completed the whole Step Up Your Practice series. You know how to record, different techniques for recording, how to create backing tracks, how to use the metronome, how to use the tuner, how to do play-alongs. Now you have all the tools that StudioOne and Notion offer, along with the AudioBox Studio or the AudioBox Music Creation Suite, and these great Eris monitors. You can go step up your practice, be more efficient, have a lot more fun in practicing, get better faster, and you can share your work with others. Thank you for joining us for the Step Up Your Practice series.